Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm Richard and this is Lap of the World. First and foremost, our sincere thanks for 6,000 subscribers. That is a huge milestone for us that we just rolled over on this past Sunday, and we distinctly appreciate every one of you who has given your vote of confidence in the form of a subscription to support and follow our adventures here on the channel. I think that's what's really cool about being this size of channel on YouTube is I would wager that I would have a good time sitting down to share a beer or a meal with any one of you who have subscribed. And as you get bigger, into the hundreds of thousands or millions of people, it's just not the case anymore. So we get to kind of enjoy this while we've got it, because I think everybody, probably the vast majority of you who are watching this video, I will have probably met in person or exchanged some messages with. And that's just really cool. We always appreciate hearing things where we've helped somebody with a problem in their car by watching something that we've broken, so hopefully they didn't have to, or where we've given somebody kind of a walk down memory lane visiting an abandoned track, or help take some of the stress off of going to a track for the first time with one of our track visit videos, kind of illustrating where to stay and what to do, kind of taking away some of that planning stress. That's really like hearing that we've done something on the channel, I've done something on a car on the channel, and somebody in Australia writes me and says, hey, I really appreciate that video, it helped me fix that same problem. It is that kind of interaction, in my opinion, is one of the best virtues of the internet. So once again, anyway, before I ramble too much, thanks again for all the support, everybody, and we really appreciate that you're along for the ride and continue to be here with us. So moving along though, today we are back in the garage with our 1992 NSX with now 320,000 miles on the clock. And we're going to be addressing it's kind of continuing our theme of refreshing this car a little bit as the year goes on. We're going to be addressing a fairly important engine cooling component up here in the front. Many of you may remember that in 2020 we swapped out our well-worn original stock radiator in favor of a new all-aluminum Koyo unit. At the same time, we installed a screen to help protect it from road debris, keeping the fins intact for hopefully a long time to come. We've now put something like 30,000 miles on this setup and I haven't had any issues at all. However, it probably isn't working to its peak efficiency, but through no fault of its own. The cooling system in most NSXs works by channeling air through the large central opening in the bumper, across the radiator, and then out the floor. The exceptions to this are the NA2 Type Rs that vent the radiator up and over the car for aerodynamic gains at the expense of a spare tire. In either case, radiator performance is the measure of how efficiently it can transfer heat from the liquid circulating through it into the air flowing across its fins. More airflow means more heat transfer, which means better engine cooling. The NSX also adds the twist of a liquid oil cooler to the equation, so by cooling the coolant, you're also cooling the oil. While there is a fan on the radiator, it's mainly there for when the car is stopped or at very slow speeds. On the move, the vast majority of the flow across the radiator is due to the car moving at high speed through the air, some of which then gets forced through this opening in the front bumper. This is where we find our problem part. It's the job of this plastic duct structure to ensure that all the air that gets forced into that hole in the bumper actually makes it to the radiator. If this is missing or damaged, air will be able to spill out under the bumper, over the top of the core support, or just churn around in the bumper cavity instead of flowing smoothly across the radiator. That in turn means the radiator isn't able to do its job as well as it could. Granted, the inefficiency from a damaged or missing radiator duct is pretty unlikely to manifest on the street, even in hot climates, but it definitely will on a racetrack after a number of hot laps. The duct on our car is present, but it is definitely struggling to hang on at this point after over 300,000 miles and one sometimes inattentive previous owner. I've done what I can over the years with plastic welding and zip ties, but I think it's time to move on. Getting started, this isn't really a step-by-step to begin with because you will have more fasteners involved in removing your bumper than I will. But step 1 is removing the bumper cover. Step 2 is removing the bumper beam itself, and that will give us access to the duct. Note that your windshield washer reservoir is attached to the bumper beam, so account for that or prepare for some wet socks. Removing the duct itself is just an issue of a dozen or so body clips, with some along the core support and another batch underneath the car, as well as a 10mm screw. Along the way, you'll also want to declip the wiring harness and hood release cables. Finally, you will pull some combination of down and forward, as well as squeezing the sides a little bit to extract it from in between the frame rails. It's worth noting at this point that with everything out of the way, it is a great time to take a few minutes to clean up a little bit around your radiator, evicting debris that was probably heretofore irretrievable. Before we get straight into installing the new duct, I do have the complication on my car of an aftermarket stabilizer. This will necessitate the slightly blasphemous feeling act of cutting up a new part, but it's a pretty mild trim. We'll use a razor knife to slice these vertical sections back to the corner where the mold changes to horizontal. Once that's done, we'll use a bar surrogate to mark and trim the inner fins, removing as little material as possible while achieving a fit. With these modifications complete, it's time to reinstall the duct back into the car in front of the radiator, replacing any body clips that broke in the course of disassembly and adding a few that didn't exist previously due to the lack of material where there should have been on the old part. With the duct now back in place, it would normally be time to reinstall the bumper and such, but I managed to scope creep myself while things were apart, so this is where we'll end it for today. One pro tip, as always, before you start taking stuff apart, take pictures. I did have the realization myself that I am going to have to go back and watch video to remember into which hole each of those wiring harness holders clips, and had I not been doing this by default, I would be having to ask for favors or try and, Google old pictures of somebody else with their car apart. So take pictures. But otherwise, yeah, the duct is clipped into place and is ready to do its job as soon as we get the bumper back on the car. Once we complete the side quest that you will see the resolution of in the next video on the channel, as we continue to kind of refresh the car. Now, if you're looking to refresh your own car and you find that your radiator duct is either missing or, like mine, just thoroughly abused, I got you, because I'm a little bit of an idiot. I accidentally ordered 2 of these things. So if you are missing yours or if it's damaged, I got your duct right here. I would only ask that you cover the shipping because it is a little bit of a big box. However, it is on shore. You're not going to have to wait for it if you are in the US. I'll get it to you fairly quickly. Yeah, so first right of refusal to subscribers or current subscribers. But otherwise, I need you to follow directions here a little bit and email us. Email, not just a comment saying dibs. I need an email from you to info@lapoftheworld.com. It's on the screen down here, info@lapoftheworld.com. And first come, first serve, but if you are willing to pay shipping, we will get this out to you and help you refresh your NSX if the need exists. Anyway, with that, on that note, I thank you for watching. Hopefully you found the video informative, if not entertaining. And until next time, I'm Richard. This is Lap of the World, and we'll see you all in the next video, if not at the track.